Gentlemen, I want to apologize to those of you who are listening. I am witnessing a scene of such utter debauchery, such complete and rotten decadence, as to make a man of goodwill grow sick to the stomach. We are at the Limelight, down here in Greenwich Village. And you know what that's like, friends? Well, it's even worse than you think. Listen carefully, and you can hear the sound of unbridled passion. It's terrible. And why is this? I'll tell you why it is. It's Saturday night in America. And that is, oh, he's nervous already, see? Do you hear that nervous? Yeah, it's nervous night. There are thousands of guys who figure 6 weeks now I've been working, and maybe this will be the night. Well, standing at my vantage point, I can tell a lot of you it ain't. Forget it. Get interested in your hamburger and you'll be much better off, friend. Oh, yeah, it's Saturday night in the village, and I want to tell you, we are gathered here tonight, here in the Limelight, to celebrate a peculiarly American holiday, which most of you probably don't even know exists. I received a communique from a high headquarters in Washington, somewhere, a very official place, last Wednesday. Big telegram, nothing makes you feel more important than to get a 22-line telegram. Big fat one, you read it over again, telegram. And it says, Mr. Shepard, we want to inform you that at midnight Saturday night begins the 15th annual American Tutti Frutti Ice Cream Week. In a few minutes, friends, it's going to be Tutti Frutti time. Now, I suppose I shouldn't. They said be careful with using that name. It may embarrass a lot of people these days. You'll have to explain that to her back in Cleveland. But seriously, it is Ice Cream Week starting up. They wouldn't have this in France. You cannot imagine General de Gaulle issuing a proclamation that it is Black Cherry Raisin Whip Week, but only in America. And I got that thing, see? I looked at it, and it suddenly hit me. By George, ice cream does play a fantastic part in the lives of almost everybody, whether you know it or not. I mean, it's almost invariably involved in dating. Ice cream. You go out, you sit down with a chick, you've got your white rented coat. It's after the prom. You've got that wool little flower there, that's beginning to fade a little bit from your sweat. You got your cummerbund on, and she's sitting opposite you, and she's got that fantastic yellow dress that she got her mother and her. They were 2 weeks to pick it out, and you cleverly picked the corsage that clashed entirely with all known colors. You got this big purple orchid, Is there anything more ugly than an orchid? I mean, it's got a big tongue hanging out. Oh, they're terrible, One night I'm dancing with this girl, and this orchid I sent to her kept going, blah. Big tongue, yellow throat, and a big green eye. And she was a nice fat little girl with a fuchsia dress, And you ought to see the way an orchid goes with fuchsia. And so this is what ice cream is like, and they're sitting there. You know the feeling. You're after the prom, after the big date, you sit down, and your pants are so tight, they're very sharp. You don't know how to sit with you, and you move and you can hear the creases go doing. That feeling, and immediately all these accordion pleats go across here. See, you're sitting, and the girl comes over and says, "What do you want?" You say, I'll have a hot fudge with coffee ice cream with some nuts. What do you have, Esther Jane? You're going all out. You're letting her know that she can go all the way tonight, And so she orders a butterscotch with vanilla. And 10 minutes later, it arrives. You sit there, here's this fantastic thing, see, this monster thing. It's got big green cherries on it that's looking up at you. It's that high, 16,000 calories. And you take your spoon and you carefully begin to, and you know what happens with that hot chocolate? How it makes that knob on the end? When it gets cold, you go, it strings out from your teeth. You lick it off, and you take another one. It catches on the front tooth. And she's saying something. Then you pull it, and then that instant, that fantastic instant when you know that the hot fudge is going on your lapel? Have you ever had premonitions of disaster? You know it's going to happen. And the worst thing is to sit there for 2 hours, fantastic wit flowing. You're just going out, and you don't realize until 5 minutes later when you get in the john, when you're about ready to leave, you had this gigantic marshmallow icicle hanging with coconut all over it, And the chocolate has spelled a 4-letter word or something on it. Oh. Well, this is the whole ice cream, Betsy, and I remember one time, now, I don't know whether you come from a rich type family, where ice cream was a standard operation in your family, but mine was not like this. This is northern Indiana, see? And this is strictly meat and potatoes country. And once in a while, canned peas. That was on Sunday, see? And occasionally, of course, it was continually interlaced, the kind of meat. It's very important what kind of meat people eat. We were not eating filet. In fact, I didn't know what a filet was the first time I went into a place with a chick, and she says, "How are the fillets today?" I thought she was talking about fish. And so our meat consisted of meatloaf. Now, I don't know whether it was real meat, but it would come in a kind of a little cardboard thing, and he'd put it in with a big slapping type instrument. He'd lay it in there and he'd weigh it. 3 thumbs the guy's got, he's weighing this thing. And I'd always, you remember those embarrassing things you had to tell the store when you were a kid? Your mother says, "Tell them I want it lean." And here's Oschenschlager back there, the meat market. Big Oschenschlager, he's got a straw hat. And I walk in, I say, "Mr. Oschenschlager, my mother wants," he says, "I know, a pound of hamburger, lean." Yeah. Lean, and it comes out, it looks like a ground-up candle with a little ketchup on it, That was called lean hamburger in Oschenschlager. 5 minutes on the stove and it melts down, Just melts, You can light a whole ship or whatever, And old another thing about Oschenschlager, I remember going in there, my mother would say, "Go and get something for lunch. Get me 15 cents worth of summer sausage sliced thin." Now tell him he wanted sliced thin. And Oschenschlager loved that. He played with kids like a great angler plays with speckled brown trout. And I would come in, and there'd be all these ladies are all around me. Mrs. Rutkowski, Mrs. Anderson, the official ladies, and Esther Jane Alberry's mother would often be there. The chick that I was going with. I'd walk in. I'd stand at the end. Oschenschlager would look down over the counter. "What do you want?" Them 2 little beady eyes. Look at you. "What do you want?" And that moment when your mother insists that you take a note, and you say, "I can remember, Ma, gee whiz, wow." And now Oschenschlager's looking you right in the eye. "What do you want?" She said, "Well," says, "Come on, I ain't got all day. What do you want?" And all the ladies are griping, yelling. You said, "Well, up." He said, "Give me the notes." Humiliated again. You stand there. You get your hand up, there's a sweaty little note. He reads it. And this is the way Oschenschlager did it. He would play it for everything it was worth. He'd say, 15 cents worth of what? Summer sausage sliced. How does she want it, kid? He knew how she wanted it. And you know why she wanted it sliced thin? For 1 millimeter of summer sausage, you could get 9 sandwiches. if properly sliced. You know, it's very important. So he would do that. He'd say, how did you, she wanted it what? T-H, what is that letter? Thin. She wants it sliced thin. Oh, I see. Okay. 15 cents sliced thin, Ollie. And he'd walk back, and all the women would look at me. And automatically my family is humiliated. I'd say, well, she's going to stuff it with cottage cheese. Something, you know, with the toothpicks and stuff. She's having a party. And then Oschenschlager would start slicing. Have you ever seen those guys slice? A really good meat market operator. He's got the salami here, you know. He lays it down there. And it's got this big blade. Have you ever watched that as a kid? And his finger gets closer and closer, see? He's playing it like that, you know. And you can see the blade. It goes ding, ding, ding. And the slice flies off. Ding, 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 ding. And you're watching. You know, he's ding, ding, and he's playing it. And he says, I'll tell you, Charlie, boy, the next time them comes, ding, ding, ding. He knows where that finger is, you know. This is his little theatrics. It's showbiz, you know, the whole thing. He's ding, 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 ding. He says, 15 cents. Is this thin enough? He holds it up, see, to the light. And you can read the Chicago Tribune through it, you know. He holds it. Says, it's all right for her, kid, all right. Can I take my little pile of summer sausage? I go out. You know that little thing, someday, Oschenschlager, I'll be grown up, and I'm going to buy summer sausage unsliced. Oh, I love to do that now. It's a terrible thing. It goes back. I love to go into the A&P and say, "We half a pound of that. Don't slice it. I'll eat it here. You know, just bite it right. Make one big sandwich, and I'll show the guy." Oh, yeah, and then that fantastic day when Oschenschlager, I'm in there with Flick and Bruner. I'm getting summer sausage. Flick is getting lunch meat, euphemistically called lunch meat, you know. That that funny meat. And we're all standing back there, and Oschenschlager's got the machine, see? Ding, 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 and he's talking to Ollie, you know, Ollie. Well, I tell you, Ollie, ding, 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 and all of a sudden, there was this thin red stream that hit the ceiling. And by George, we had the most exotic summer sausage that day. And by the way, he charged us for it. He said, 2 extra slices. So, you know, that was the kind of scene it was. So, you know, ice cream was a fantastic thing. And about every 3rd or 4th week, the old man would come up the back steps. You know, it's home for supper. You hear the car come roaring up the driveway, and you hear these steps. You know, the old man's coming in. Bang! The door opens. He comes roaring in. Already his shirt's half off, you know, and you can see his BVDs. He's taking off his pants. Oh, yeah, he'd hit the back steps, one shoe off already, you know. I remember my father totally naked constantly. You know? And he comes roaring in, you know, takes off his pants, and he comes tearing in, he sits down. He says, okay, how about a surprise? How about a surprise? So the entire family snaps to attention. The old man is here, it's time for a surprise. He says, how about after supper, going down to the Igloo for ice cream? You know, he hit a $2 ticket today. You know, and all of us, oh boy, ice cream today. Holy smokes. And then immediately there would be these fantastic theological arguments that would develop as to what is better, chocolate, grape nut. Have you ever had grape nut ice cream? You used to get that all the time. What is better, coconut? Big battle. And then at 7:15, just as it's getting dark out, you could smell the coconut somewhere off in the distance. They're making the ice cream for us. You could see the steel mills laying like jagged sawtooth edges right on the horizon. That was our entire world. And at night, on a quiet, hot summer night, you know, you can see the steel mills for like 40 miles. The whole sky is red, like the northern lights. You can see the smoke rising. And we get in the Oldsmobile. The old man's all dressed up, you know, he's got on his slacks. You know, isn't it funny when my father, did you belong to a father who, when he got dressed up, put on two-tone shoes. That meant he was dressed up, two-tone brown and white, with the big things. And always they would try to make the white, with that stuff that comes in the bottle with the round thing on the end. And it would slop over on the brown, That was high life in Hammond. See, so he gets in the front seat, and he starts driving. And he says, well, kids, what do you want tonight? You want a sundae? Or do you want how about a triple-deck ice cream cone? And all the while, you see, the window is open, and he is peppering the surrounding motorists with four-letter words. It's all part of the ice cream world for me. Oh, he was fantastic. He would say, how about a triple-dip ice cream cone? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It was not anger with him, you see. That was called driving. Nothing to do with anger, And the other guys are driving around. There was all a constant uproar, The guys are yelling, Bruner yelling at my old man, back and forth. And we finally arrived at the Igloo. Now, how was the Igloo? And about 4,000 other steel worker families are there. They're all lined up in the cars and the car hops and the whole scene. And they bring me my triple-deck ice cream cone. I would have one ball of pineapple, one ball of chocolate, one ball of strawberry, and I would start to suck the bottom. Oh, yeah, Have you ever had that terrible desire to do that kind of stuff? Even yet, you walk into the Four Seasons and say, bring me an ice cream cone, please. For dessert, I like to suck the bottom. Give me one of those. Terrible, So this was the whole big thing, going to the Igloo. Well, one summer, I was 9. A historic moment occurred. You know how it is when you live in a small town? Everything is sort of in equilibrium. I mean, there is one store, there is one big supermarket, there's the post office and the pool room, and there's the bowling alley. There's the places up above the bowling alley where it says dentist. Oh, yeah, I can remember many an afternoon getting my teeth filled to the sound of guys trying to get the 7:10 strike, Oh, yeah, so everything is in equilibrium. Well, one summer, a guy opened up a place directly, a guy from out of town came in, a big chain, big outfit, opened up a place directly across from the Igloo, and they called it the Red Rooster. Another ice cream joint, see? And everybody went to the Igloo. It's kind of like home. You knew all of Aggie, the waitress, the big fat behind him, the whole crowd. Old John would come out from behind, always those dripping ice cream scoops. And, you knew everybody, see? And suddenly across the street is another joint. And they've got a big parking lot. They have put dough into this, see? And they've got these big green plastic shields over it. Oh, they have these magnificent chicks imported. See, in Hammond, they didn't have women. There were no girls in Hammond in the accepted sense of the term. There were just Esther Jane Albury and Helen Weathers and stuff like that. Yeah, they brought these girls that had these big cowboy hats. Yeah, with the high boots, the little shorts, the little red things. And they're open for business. Yeah. Well, once in a while, a dissident car would drive in. See, you'd skulk in. And you'd see across the street the Igloo, and they're looking through the window. That's Shepard's car. And boy, from that minute on, whenever you went to the Igloo, you got hollow balls of ice cream. Incidentally, how many of you know that there are about 5,000 ways to be an ice cream clerk? Oh yeah, I spent 2 weeks learning how to take a scoop out of a big tub of vanilla so that it looked like a fantastic ball of ice cream, but it was as hollow as a ping pong ball. You know that little trick? Oh yeah, you go great big with you look. Your nose goes right into the cone immediately. Well, here's the Igloo, see, and it's hot, and everybody is going to the Igloo, and nothing's happening at the Red Rooster. You got the scene? It's a hot July. And one day we're sitting on the front porch. It's after supper. It's the swing bit. My mother's got a swing, back and forth. The old man's sitting there reading the paper. The White Sox have dropped 38 straight. rocking back and forth. You can hear Bruner trying to crawl up the basement stairs. Life is going on, and somebody is sprinkling the stickers down the street, you know. That's called sprinkling the lawn in Hammond. You sprinkle the weeds. And you can hear just ordinary life, and all of a sudden, next door, Mr. MD drives in. His car is trailing smoke. He runs up the front porch and he hollers, "Hey, Mel, come on, get your ma! Hurry up! They've got an ice cream war on!" We never heard of an ice cream war, you know. You know, we imagine that the Japs attacked us or something with banana splits or something, you know. An ice cream war, see? And MD comes out on the porch and he howls over to my lawn, "Hey, they're selling 10-cent ice cream cones over at the Red Rooster for 7 cents. Get going." Instantly the neighborhood is galvanized. 7-cent ice cream cones. The 10-center, you know. And you can just see people going out of the houses, pulling their pants on, you know. Yeah, you can hear old ladies, you know, putting on their things and running out. Oh, yeah, you can hear, wait, I saw one old lady running down the street trying to put on her maiden form like this. And the crowd is yelling into the cars, and down the street they go. Well, I want to tell you, it was one of those nights. It's about 7:30. It's hot. And maybe that's what was one of the key factors. There's another one. You know, it was so hot, and you could see the steel mills that night. It was one of those nights where everything is just hanging there. Millions of mosquitoes. Oh boy, they were just, you know, you could see them flying in formations and doing slow rolls. Oh yeah, we had mosquitoes that used to put on air shows for it. Oh yeah, they'd come out, you know. Speaking of mosquitoes, my old man, you know, it's funny. It's funny how when I go past Abercrombie and Fitch, which I do occasionally, and you see these pictures of these guys, you know, in the magazines and in the posters in Abercrombie and Fitch, these distinguished-looking gray-haired guys, or these tall, slim, dynamic-looking types casting flies. You know that thing? Or they're carrying these big Winchester deer rifles and they're hunting a bear. You see the grizzly guard. I always think of my old man's favorite sport, mosquito hunting. You know that my father was truly an accomplished mosquito hunter. He's the only guy I ever knew, seriously, who carried his fly swatter in a shoulder holster. He always had the fly swatter with him, you know. And I remember him going down to the A&P every summer in the spring to pick out his new weapon. Oh, yeah, you know, that was his Abercrombie and Fitch. He would go into the fly swatter department. And, you know, they had all kinds. You know, there was the little thin wooden type with just a little piece of screen. Then there was the long metal type with a little piece of rubber with the holes in it, you know. That was for ladies. He hated that kind. Then there was the kind that came with the pistol grip. Oh, yeah, this was the fine fly. It had a pistol grip, you know, and he'd whip it. You'd hear him back there in the A&P practicing, you know, swat. That's not bad, not bad, not bad. And he'd pick it out. And that night, it'd be 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd hear the old man, "The season has opened." Yeah, he'd wait. At midnight, the season started, see? Well, mosquito season in Indiana is June 20th. Any mosquitoes taken before that time are illegal. So it's June 20th. The old man is asleep, see? Sleeping down there like that. I'm a kid. And you know that sound. How many of you ever had a father like that? The sound, all of a sudden you hear, everybody wakes up. Don't make a noise. I hear another one of them damn mosquitoes. There he goes. And then you'd hear him jumping up on the top of the bed. And my mother saying, "Oh, please, why don't you get a spray or something?" He says, No, I'll get him. Bang, 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 swat. Muffled curses. He had met a worthy adversary. Oh, I'll never forget, he pursued one mosquito for over 4 weeks. One, he could tell him, you know, he would come in, the same one, it was the Baron von Richthofen of mosquitoes. Oh, yeah, night after night, that mosquito would get him, you know. He'd be hanging on the ceiling, just big, fat mosquito. You could see the blood in him, you know. My old man's blood. The old man would sneak up on him. Yeah, he's sneaking up on him like that, and then you hear, whoa! He's gone again. Mike, don't move. And then he'd disappear. It was one of those mosquitoes that had a secret hiding place. He would disappear, and the old man would hide by the bed. Go to sleep, all of you. He'd wait. Once in a while, a second-rate mosquito would go by. He'd leave and go. And then that night, that hot, early August night, I hear the old man leap with a cry, a passionate, inchoate cry of the hunter on the track. He's up on the bed. I hear that thin humming. You know that thin humming sound that you hear when you're asleep? That little... And it fades off. And then it stops. That's the moment, you know. You know that moment of when the mosquito is scoring? When you hear... It stops, and you say, it's on my forehead. It's on my forehead. You go, bam! Nothing. Then... Well, it was one of those nights. See, mosquitoes were all out. And this night, the old man jumps up on the bed. I'd heard that humming hour after hour. He's up on the bed. He says, there he is. He looks. And I'm standing in the doorway watching. My kid brother is under the daybed crying, whimpering. My mother is cowering over. I know, honey, it's all right. Gee whiz. My mother is cowering over by the dresser. And the old man is sneaking. And he's got his BVDs on. I always get that picture of him, you know, the bottom is all open. Yeah, that kind that opens up all over, you know, he's hanging there like this. The great hunter. And he's got his pistol gripped, mosquito swatter at the ready, you could see him flexing it. And this mosquito actually played him. There's a brief moment, the mosquito's looking down, see? And he goes, whee! Spinning around, he does a slow ear movement. The old man is moving with him, see? These were two worthy opponents. Let me tell you, you don't often see such a well-matched team. 4 months it had been like this, the old man's moving back and forth. Whee! And all of a sudden, I'll never forget this shot. Oh, it was obviously lucky. The old man got him on a ricochet carom shot. He bounced off the light bulb. He did it purposely. He liked to play himself off this mosquito, play himself off the light bulb and swing down. The old man got him up, bing, ball off the screen. He went down, and there he was. The old man stood there for a second. He said, got him. And he looked, and you could see a tear in his eye. He had killed the only great adversary he ever met. The greatest mosquito of them all. His season was over. Okay, you got the scene. Oh, it's hot. You can feel that heat coming in the old man. Hey, wait, at ease up there, fellas. Wait a minute, at ease now. Let's wait till they get settled there. All the yelling done up there? Okay, now we can go. Let's give them a big hand. Come on. Thank you up there, gang. So, here's the scene. It is ice cream time. They are selling 7-cent ice cream cones at the Red Rooster. And we get out on that highway. And you can see Oldsmobiles. You can see Huffmobiles. You can see Essexes. What is the plural of Essex? S-E? S-I's? S-E's? And you can see these cars all going, millions of them rolling down the street. They're heading towards one thing. Right down there on Holman Avenue, where the Red Rooster has established its new combine. And we arrive, I'll tell you, I'll never forget the scene. I'll tell you the truth, this is what happened. We're 2 blocks away, and you can't even get a parking place. And there are thousands of people walking along the streets. Old ladies, kids, ladies in wheelchairs. Oh, they're going to 7-cent ice cream cones, not to be laughed at, you know. out of the way, and guys are getting run over, and guys with peg legs are going. It's fantastic. Kids in wagons and carts, they're all going towards this spot. We get out of the car, and the old man says, "Come on, let's go, hurry up." He's dragging along. He's still got his underwear half buttoned, My mother is dragging behind my kid brother down the street with him. We can see this line of people. A line of people in front of the Red Rooster. And there on he had painted in white calcimine on the front of his window, 7-cent, triple dip, all you can take. Well, I want to tell you, it was a scene of such fantastic, unrivaled excitement. They're all standing in line. You can see the old ladies, thousands of them, coming out ice cream cones. You ever seen a guy with 14 ice cream cones in his arms like that? 7-cent ice cream cones, and the crowd is excited. And rumors began to come through the crowd. We're waiting in line, They're running out of ice cream. They're running out of cones. You got to carry the balls in your hand, Well, yeah, everybody's panicked. The old man, he's got his 28 cents out like this. He's ready. And suddenly, and here across the street, you see, Holman Avenue is a fantastic uproar of people stopping, cars looking, and this crowd across the street is the Igloo, absolutely empty. And you can see old John looking out. He's looking across, and you see Aggie standing next to him. They're both looking. All of a sudden, John comes running out of the place. He looks across. He says, "Hey, look at this sign. 6-cent ice cream cones. Triple dip." The crowd looks, here they are, just they're torn, you see, for that instant. And instantly, boom! The whole mob goes across the street. You see shoes on the street, hats, and little kids are laying there across the street. You can feel the whole town tilt, They go thundering across, and old John, he's got 14 kids, and they're loading the 6 cents, and nothing at the Red Rooster. They're big 7. You see this guy from the Red Rooster, he's the city type, city man. We didn't even know who he was, the official guy. See? He's got a suit on. John always wore this apron with Tutti Frutti all over it and stuff. See? And this guy's looking across. You see he's on the phone. Okay? Hangs his phone up, walks out. He writes 5. He doesn't do anything, just stands there. Walks back in. Instantly the crowd. Oh my God. 5-cent triple dip ice cream cone. Do you realize that's a 7-pound ice cream cone? 5 cents. And there's a brief pause. It must be the way it is just before the atom bomb goes off, where everything hangs, and the crowd across the street. You can immediately, their ice creams. John's looking out, sweating. Okay, all right. What's this, all you guys? What's this? He writes 2 for 5 cents. 2 for a nickel. 2 ice cream cones for a nickel. And there's another pause. Across the street they go. You can feel the ground thundering. And by the way, by now, the rumor has gotten out and almost all of northern Indiana has arrived. Greyhound buses have arrived. They got a sign, Ice Cream War Special on it, They're coming from places like Griffith, and they're coming from Indianapolis. Yeah, and you can see airplanes flying over. It's now about 10 o'clock. We haven't moved hey, easy back there. We haven't moved an inch and a half in this line. And up ahead, you could see the people scoring. Carrying away ice cream cones. They'd walk past, dripping. Thousands of them walking past and getting in the end of the line. They're eating the ice cream cones, frantic. And with that, John sees what's happening. Across the street, Igloo. He's put up a 4-cent sign. 2 for 4 cents. John rushes out and puts up a 3-cent sign. It is getting unbelievable. They are selling ice cream now at a nickel a quart. As much as you can carry home, and you can see trucks arriving back of both places, you know, with more ice cream. They're feeding the whole damn town. It's wild. It is now midnight, and the crowd has become almost unmanageable. You could see them all for miles. And my father's saying, let's see now. We'll get 7 ice cream cones. We'll get 9 quarts. We'll get 2 pints of pistachio and 3 malted milks. That'll be 12 cents. I'm telling you, it was getting at that point, and there's a fantastic excitement in the crowd. They're roaring, and it's hot. Oh, it's 150 degrees. Oh, it's hot. And John is standing in there. You can see his apron torn, and his scoop is worn down to a nubbin. And all they've got left is vanilla or something like grape cherry, some obscene flavor. They're down at the bottom. It's now midnight. I remember one sign that said, free. Ice cream free. And the crowd is now out of hand. You could hear them muttering, murmuring. And once in a while you'd hear somebody yelling in there. And the window of remember the moment when the window of John's came crashing out. Somebody was pushed through the window. John didn't give a damn. He's here fighting them. He's at the ramparts, and across the street the Red Rooster man his tie is open. They're glaring at each other, and suddenly from the distance you could hear the sound of sirens approaching. The crowd now is quiet. And the cars with the big red lights arrive. They move down the middle of the street. And they walk in to John's. You can see a couple of these big guys. And a couple of guys go across the street to the Red Rooster. The crowd's watching. You see John talking. You see the Red Rooster guy talking. And then John looks across the street. Hi. The guy in the Red Rooster says, "Oh, John." And with that, the cops walk down the street and says, "All right, now break it up. It's all over. Break it up." And here are the kids now out washing the windows off. Everybody went home. And you could see for blocks, you could see old busted ice cream cones. You could see crushed paper cups. You could see girdles. There were about 30 sets of false teeth. And there was the rubble of the great ice cream war of Hammond, Indiana. And the next day, I'll never forget the newspaper. The next day, headline, "Great Ice Cream War breaks out on home in Indiana. Many hurt. Casualty reports still coming in." The old man's sitting there, a combat veteran. He's sitting there, reading his paper, looking around. He says, wouldn't it be great if they had an automobile war? Chevys, 8 cents. And from that day on, it's fascinating. From that day on, this myth has grown. And now out in Hammond, Indiana, they base things before and after. It's like the atom bomb. Or Pearl Harbor. Before the ice cream war or after the ice cream war. Oh yeah, they talk about this. Of course, that was pre-war. What they're referring to is the ice cream war. And then, of course, once in a while you'll meet old codgers who claim to have actually gotten an ice cream cone. Oh, and they talk about it, and this whole thing, it's that kind of summer madness, and it's part of the ice cream mythos in America. You know that here in town now, the ice cream has gotten to be almost an object of worship? This is probably the first show you ever heard with ice cream as a premise. But there is a place here in town now where you can go in and buy a $3 sundae. A $2.75 sundae. Oh yeah, I'm not inventing this. Oh yeah, because all of us secretly, you see, feel that we're very hip. We've all grown up. And we don't want to go in and buy an ice cream sundae. What we want is a martini. Or Jack Daniels or something like that. Now, if you can include both, a good stiff price tag and a chocolate triple dip sundae, you can encase the whole thing all wrapped up. Of course, this comes from a deep thing inside of us to be in. Oh, by the way, before we go any further, how many of you are in? Oh, come on, what kind of a thing is this? I keep reading in the paper about the in and the out people. Are any of you in here? There she is. There's the only one. Yeah, I can tell it, yeah. The sequin glasses, that's it. Yeah, that's a young Arlene Francis already. Well, you know, that in and out thing is a fantastic urge. And this, it's all somehow connected with the summer. I don't know why it is, but in the summertime, the clothes, the attitudes, the hipness, the inness, the with itness, all of this comes out. Have you ever stood on the beach, like say at Jones Beach, and you can tell the in and the out instantly? You really can, you know. It's the in, the out, and the in. You can tell them by the suits they wear, and what kind of music they listen to on their transistor radio. How about those great commercials of the beaches? You seen those? All taking part on the beach. It shows this whole crowd, you know, and they're fruging away, and boy, you know, and the quick shot, and there's that barrel of beer. You see these hands reaching in like that, and it boom, 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 and it says, yes, the new with it in people. They're drinking this beer. You can see the music roaring and bellowing. And you know, the other day I go to Jones Beach, and I'm already prepared, you know, I want to be in. And so I've got the back seat of the car loaded with 7 cases of the in beer. And I have put the gas in my car that the with it people use. Have you seen that gasoline that they advertise? The really with it people know this kind of gas. You see that one? That's a great one of this guy driving up with the chick, the gas station. And they're very, you know, they're 2 go-go types. He drives up. She's got the bell-bottom vinyl pants, you know, the whole bit. These are very intelligent people. They see right through the sham, you know. Oh, yeah. And their radio is playing, you know, bung, gung, 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 gung. You can't hear anything for 4 miles around them. They drive up to the gas station. You see that commercial? It's great. And out comes this gas station attendant who looks like a cross between, I'd say Gregory Peck and Anthony Perkins. Yeah, you know, he sort of bounds out. Clean shaven, beautiful, you know. He says, immediately he's cleaning the windshield, you know. How long has it been since anybody has cleaned your windshield unless you, hey, clean the windshield, Mac? He says, blot out. That's really the way the friendly or he throws you a rag. You catch it like that and grease shoots past you, you know. But the world of the commercial is a very different world. Have you seen that? Oh, there's another commercial I think is very significant. Along the same line of the in people. It's this one where they're all on the surfboards. You seen that one? And they come sweeping in through the surf. You can see the light shining. It's fantastic photography. You can see the hair streaming. And the surf music is going. You wonder, what is this commercial for? What are they selling, you know? Holy smokes. And then you see this beautiful chick. She runs out on the beach, and you see the wind streaming through her hair. Oh, fantastic. And you see this tall guy. He runs after her, you know, the 2 of them. And up they go. And you say, oh, what are they selling, you know? And the music is and the announcer says, yes, the beautiful people always go to the beautiful things. They know what the world is about. And they sit down, open the basket, and out comes a jar of mustard. And it goes, the camera dollies it, and the rock and roll music rises up, and you say, oh, so that's what it's about. I got to buy the right mustard. I wonder what it's got in that mustard. And then how about this other commercial? Oh, I'll tell you, there's another fantastic commercial. It takes place in a warehouse. You seen that one? Oh, yeah. There's thousands of cases. And all of a sudden you hear, da 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 da, showbiz. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and 6 guys that are truck loaders come floating out of the wings. Have you seen those guys? They float. I'll tell you, they don't touch the ground once. 6 truck loaders. You can hear their wings fluttering, you know. And the music's going da-da-da-da-da-da. You expect Barbra Streisand to show up any minute now. And they go floating off, choreographed, and they disappear into the distance. And I begin to realize then there is a real revolution going on in America. Even among truck drivers. Oh, boy. You have to explain that one to her. She doesn't know. Fantastic moment. And so it's all part of the in-world. And I'll never forget the time as a kid. The one brief moment in my life that I was in. And I will never forget it. Once you've tasted glory, it's not easy to go back. I remember one night walking into a shoe store. True story. Walked into a shoe store. I just walk in. I sit down. You know how you sit down with a shoe store. You know, you walk in, sit down like this. And a guy comes over, and he's got that little thing you measure the foot with. He walks over, and he says, "What model are you looking for, sir?" And I said, "Well, it's the one in the window, the one with the bells on it." Well, with the bells, got the little fringe there. I want the red and white one. And he looks at me, and he goes off, you know, he walks away. He comes back with this thing, and he starts to measure my foot, and I look at him. I look him right in the eye, and all of a sudden there is a little bell ring. A bell of familiarity. I can remember somewhere along the line I have seen this guy. And he comes back with another pair of shoes. And then I say to him, "Don't I know you?" And he looks up at me from under his beetling brows. Like as if, "Please don't say you know me." I said, "Well, don't I know you from someplace?" And he says, "Well, I don't know." He walks away, and I see the shoulders. And suddenly it hits me. I knew those same shoulders when they had 2 silver leaves on them. So help me, I'm not inventing it. It was a lieutenant colonel that once gave me a you-know-whating out. Holy smokes, I'll never forget one afternoon when I stood in his office with Gasser, and this guy took me apart, made me into coleslaw, made Gasser into potato salad, told us about, and one of the things, I'll never forget this discussion that this lieutenant colonel once gave us. He said, "You guys got to remember that your record will follow you after the war. What you do in the Army is going to depend on what happens to you when you get out." And here he is. He's got my little pink shoes with the bells on them. You know, I sit down, I said, watch it, Mac. Not too tight, Jack. Walk around. How do these look? He says, "Oh, they look all right, sir. They look very good on you. With those high ankles you've got with the lumps on them, they look very good." I sit down like this. I said, "Okay, now let's try the green ones with the gold zipper. I want the green ones with the gold zipper with the silver tassel. Now let's try them." He brings those. And about 20 minutes after this was going on, I finally said, "I think I'll take these, Colonel." Just for a moment it hung there. And he turned around and he says, "You haven't changed, have you, Corporal?" "You still ain't got no taste." You know, we're pursued forever by our past. Oh, speaking of failures, what radio station is this, crowd?
You are cordially invited to George and Martha's for an evening of fun and games.
I know what we do. How about a little round of get the guests?
George.
Book dropper, child mentioner.
I don't like these games.
No, anyway. Silence!
Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton. Their new motion picture, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
You can sit around with a gin running out of your mouth. You can humiliate me. You can tear me to pieces all night. That's perfectly okay. That's all right.
You can stand it.
I cannot stand it.
You can stand it. You married me for it.
That's a desperately sick lie.
Don't you
Elizabeth
know it?
Taylor, Richard Burton. The motion picture Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Also starring George Segal and Sandy Dennis. Remember, no one under 18 will be admitted to the theater unless accompanied by his parent. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? From Warner Brothers.
You're gonna get it, baby.
Be careful, Martha. I'll rip you to pieces.
You're not man enough. You haven't the guts.
Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Criterion and Lowe's Tower East Theaters. You know, making it happiness, swinging, joy, pizzazz, the whole scene. It goes like this, see? And then it sort of levels off. And then it droops off until finally it's down at the zero baseline, which is where it started, at the zero baseline. Now, we always assume, though, that that peak is just ahead. You know, this thing. Upward. Next weekend it's going to start. Yeah, oh, you know, next summer I'm going to really build that cottage. I'm going to get a boat. I'm going to do it. And now here it is, already July, and you're still fooling around. You haven't even been to the beach once this year. You can't even get a parking place yet. All summer you've been looking, nothing. Well, all right, how would you, can you imagine it? If your life is like that, what a fantastic thing to realize if the best day of your life, because we must have one day when we are, when it's all at the top. One day. It has to be. Happened when you were 6. And you didn't know it. You know, this is an interesting concept. And so I remember one time, and this could very well have been the peak moment. It's hot. It's summer. I am 13, which is a very interesting year. When you're 13, you're not in it yet, and you're not out of it yet. You can't be an in or an out 13, really. You know, you're made out of cellophane. The sun shines through you, and you know you're always under the illusion, of course, that you're very hip, that you're on top of it. All 13-year-olds, you ought to see the letters I get. Oh, yeah, it never stops a 13-year-old from writing a 4-page letter telling you what's wrong with our South Asia policy. And he's basing it on long experience and deep thought. You know, and this is a great time of life to be in because you have absolute, total confidence. And so I'm 13, see, and I have begun to play with radio, amateur radio. And I'm the only guy in the neighborhood except Lawrence Stryker across the street. And I am doing something that nobody else is doing. I am building radio sets. And it's now May. And I'm kind of like, you know, I'm kind of like 7 feet tall because all the rest of the kids are out there trying to field pop fouls. You know, they're trying to field ground balls. And I am working on Ohm's law problems. I'm getting inner and inner. I'm getting bigger inside of myself, and I'm getting very snotty. You know, my old man, it's funny how you outstrip your father. You know, how many of you have had that terrible feeling of suddenly realizing your father is an ignorant klutz? The terrible feeling, you know? And my father used to be a kind of like a demigod in the family. I mean, with fixing lights, repairing stuff that didn't work, like fans and stuff. And he was great, you know. He would fix it like this, you know. Yeah, he was good. And he would let nobody else kick stuff. Because he knew how to kick it just at the right place, see? And that's the way, and he would fix a light bulb like this, you know, his idea of fixing it. He said, all right, I'll fix it. He'd go like this, turn the switch on. What do you mean it's on? It's still dark. All right, now hold your water. Okay. He'd hit it. All right, turn it off now. Turn it on again, quick. There. See? Fixed. And then he'd walk away and it would go out. That was his idea of, I used to think, gee, my dad knows all about electricity. He really knows. And now I'm 13 and I know I'm building radios. And I remember that terrible afternoon. I am reading a book on radio, and my dad had created the myth in the family that when he was a kid, he built radios. And so here I am sitting there, and I says, hey, Dad, I want to figure out, you see the grid leak here, Dad? And I'm showing him a schematic diagram. I said, you see the grid leak here, Dad? I want to figure out they don't give the value of that, and they say that you can calculate the value by the RC constant of the tuned circuit here. Now, Dad, what value should I use? The old man says, well, I don't see it leaking. He said, you sure that's a grid leak? It's not leaking. I said, well, yes, this is a grid leak here, Dad. He said, nah, you're all wet. That is all. He's trying to brazen it through. He says, no, that must be a misprint there. It's not grid leak. I looked at my dad. He's walking away with that cocksure, and I realized my old man is a phony. He's a dumb klutz, He's been ad-libbing his way through life. You can't ad-lib about an Ohm's law constant like that, I says, Dad, you can calculate. Here's the formula. And he says, the what? I said, well, here's the formula for calculating the resistance on that thing, Dad. And it says X. Now look, Dad, see? You take the value of the condenser, C, in microfarads. He says, micro what? I says, microfarads, Dad, and you multiply it by the impedance. And he walked away. He said, that ain't the way I build radios. It's all that book stuff. He said, we just put parts together and make them go. I said, yes, Dad. And now I'm 30 feet tall. And every night my dad used to drive in from work, and he would look in the front bedroom, and I am sitting there working on my stuff, I had this little bench that I had built in the front bedroom. And it had all my test equipment, which I bought from my paper route. I had it all mounted on the wall, see. And I have learned to code. The old man had trouble figuring batting averages. Oh, yeah, he used to ad-lib batting averages. I says, Dad, what if Luke Appling gets 1 out of 3? What's he got? He says, well, 1 out of 3, that's 1 out of 3, 3. Well, he's batting over 200. He figured everything on batting average, you see. So here I am, I'm a real smart, there's a word I can't even use on the radio. It's 3 letters. A smart you-know-what kid. And I am playing it big. I love it. I really do. And I would sit at supper table and I would talk to my mother and my kid brother. And I'd say, I'm going to buy an X-cut crystal in the middle of the 40-meter band. And when I get on, I'm going to use a tri-tet circuit. I'm going to try a tri-tet. You know what I'm going to try? I think I may try a double extended ZEP on 40. The old man sitting there. And then he tried to outploy me. He said, I think I'm going to grind the valves on the Olds. He said, I'm going to use a number 2 grinding compound, and I'm going to use the number 3 shim in the clearance calculator. How about that, kid? Then I'd turn, I said, hey, you want to use my calipers, Dad? He thought you picked nuts with calipers, And so it was that kind of relationship, and I'm playing it real big. And every afternoon on those hot summer days, I would sit in my front bedroom in my own little in world. And I'm on the air now. I have built my shortwave transmitter. It's code, you see, which made it even more mysterious. And it would make the lights flicker without even touching the switch, which mystified my father completely. Yeah, and he'd say, how come the lights go down? Are you going to blow a fuse? I'd say, no, Dad, that's because I am drawing a sudden load on the high impedance line that feeds the transformer. I'd say, oh, you ain't going to burn out no damn fuse, are you? I'd say, Father, there is no danger of burning out a fuse. because I have my power supply fully damped. Say, fully what? Don't you use no language like that around me. I'd say damped, Dad. D-A-M-P-T. That means that it has a high coefficient of security. So, that better have. He's pretending he understands, see. So every day I'm sitting in here on the air. And about every 5, my mother never tried to compete with me. My mother had only one phrase that she used over and over again. She would come into the front bedroom with the towel, with her hair up in curlers. She's wearing her bathrobe, and she would say, "Watch out for live wires. Don't blow yourself up. Get a bad shock with light." She'd go away. I'd say, "Oh, come on, Ma. Now, don't bother me. I'm talking to a guy in Cleveland. Don't bother me, Ma. I'm not going to blow myself up. Now, Ma, stop it." With that supercilious air of the kid who knows everything about everything. He is told. You hear that one? There's one back there now. Yeah, the kid that knows what the world is about, and he's got it by the you-know-what. Oh, I'll tell you, it's a great feeling, see. And one afternoon, it was hot. I'll never forget this because it was one of the great lessons of my life. It's hot. The temperature is about, 100 degrees like it was last week here in New York. We had that temperature all summer out in the Midwest. And the sky is kind of laying down, just looking. And it's one of those misty, hazy summer days. And you can hear the crickets for miles around. And I'm sitting in my front bedroom, and right next to me is an open window. And I'm on the air, see. And above me on the roof, after a fantastic battle of about 3 weeks, I was able to get my old man to let me put a pole on the roof, see. And put another pole over here on the garage, and run in between my little wire. That was my antenna. And then from the end of the wire came the lead-in. Came down, and I had it all mounted. See, it was a 600 ohm lead, which I had calculated, and it came right into my window, like that. And up here it went to my tuning circuit, my transmitter. You got the picture? And I'm sitting there, and I'm working the world. I have got my own scene going. I am on top of it. And I can see all the lesser kids out there, kicking cans around. Well, you know what kids do, scratching and hitting each other and stealing stuff and that stuff. So I'm on the air. It's hot. And I notice out the window there a few drops of rain. Just a few. You know those wonderful summer showers? And you get them in Indiana, great big drops about the size of ping pong balls, ping. And I'm talking, I will remember this because I even recall the guy I'm talking to. I am talking to a ham in Denver. And every time I put the key down, you'd see the lights dim a little bit. There's that sense of power, goom, goom. They're hearing me all over the world. Goom, and then goom. And my mother's out in the kitchen. And she's doing the dishes. And she walks into the front bedroom and she says, "It's starting to rain." It's starting to rain. Don't be careful now because you get shocks when it's wet. Oh, come on, Mom. Gee whiz. And I'm working that transmitter. And now there is a slight roll of thunder. A roll of thunder came in through the bedroom and bounced off the wall. And I had my earphones on, little knowing that in the next millisecond I am about to experience a traumatic experience. I will never in this world forget it, I'll tell you. I'm real snotty, I'm talking to this guy, says, "Okay, Charlie, that's about all for here. What do you got now? I'll stand by, W9QWN, 54W9, blah, 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 boom, boom, K." I put on my cans, I sit there for a second, and everything hung, and I heard him coming back. For one instant, I heard boop, boop, boop. And then, what I am about to tell you, I cannot clearly describe. No, I can't. I heard a muttering of thunder out there. I knew for one brief instant that something had happened. And then it was gone. And then it came back again. And a fantastic blue ball, a ball about the size, I'll tell you, it was 30 feet across, came right in my bedroom window. Big blue ball. Oh! It ran right up my antenna wire, around the room, hit my transmitter. Boom! I staggered back, I hit the wall, and I laid there on the ground. I don't know how long I was there. I was behind and under the daybed. One earphone had been torn completely off my head. My shoes were smoking. My hands were all the way up here. They were great black. I had blisters all the way up to my elbow, and this bolt of lightning kept spinning around in the room, looking down at me. And then all of a sudden it said, "Son, Jack, run!" It dove out the window and down my ground wire. And there was my transmitter, nothing but small pieces of wire and smoldering embers. I couldn't, for a long moment, I could not bring my mind together. It's not everybody that's been hit by lightning. I have. You sit for a second. And then I saw my mother in the doorway. She says, "Look out, you'll get a shock." She says, "You're going to get a shock." I'm laying on the ground. I look up at her, see, and she walks away. She comes back, and she says, "The lights don't work." And then she saw my room. Here she had her drapes, which we got from Sears Roebuck, with the Dutch windmills, all of them, and they were all burnt off halfway up. And I want to tell you one of the crazy things that happened with that lightning. See, lightning had hit my antenna, had come right down into my room, had belted the daylights out of my transmitter, knocked me under the daybed, and then left. But what it did, I'll never forget. Here was the house. It was on the first floor. We lived in a framed bungalow. And I'm looking at, this was my bedroom, see. For some eerie reason, I've never seen lightning ever do this. There was a crack that went absolutely from the ceiling all the way down to the floor. The entire wall of the house had been pushed in like a V, like a truck had driven into the side of it. It went all the way down into the foundation. I took one look at that. Holy smokes. And I'm trying to push the house back, and I push it, and my hands are all burnt, my pants are burned off, my earphones are hanging. I look around, and then my mother's behind me. She says, "What have you done to the house?" I'll tell you, I'm serious. If you ever try to explain something like that, you know, it was a major crisis in our family when you busted a window. I have busted the house. It's pushed in like that, see, and my mother is standing there with a dish rag hanging. And we had lived in this house now for like 15 years, ever since I was a little, baby. I was born there, and we've been renting this house for years from Mr. Ramey. Mr. Ramey, he was like our family scroungy landlord, you know. And my mother says, "What will Mr. Ramey say?" She says, "All right." There's a pause. He says, "I'm going to have to tell your father." How many of you remember that phrase? That means capital punishment. That is it, see? And so, I'm scared. I'm just... I'm trying to push the house back, and my wires are on, my transmitter's burned up, and my elbows are hurting, and my earphones are burned off my ears, and my transmitter's gone, and the whole world is crumbling. And then up the driveway comes this car. And I'm sitting on my daybed, which I had in my bedroom. I'm scared because my mother says, "You're not going to leave the house until he gets home." And I hear the old man come in, like he always did on summer afternoons, "I'm here, here's the chief, wow." And there's a pause. I hear these voices. He says, what? And I hear these feet, those approaching feet. It is justice approaching. It is destiny. I hear boom, 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 boom. I'm sitting there. The old man comes in and he looks at the room. Did you do this? Did your damn grid leak do this? All right, everybody. Where's Randy? My kid brother, ever since the lightning had struck, has been hiding down in the coal bin under the coal. Whimpering. You could hear him whimpering from under the coal, you see, because we had this relationship. He knew when the boom was going to be lowered on me, and he always got the backlash. So the two of us, it was very close like that. So he says, all right, Randy, come up on the basement. Let's go, all of you. Hurry up. I'm sitting there with water, what now, He said, all right, come on, sit down. And he called my mother Ann. That is when it is really official. He always used to call her, all right, Mom, or something like that. He says, all right, Ann, come on in here. All right, sit down. We sit. I'm sitting there like this. He says, okay, tonight we move. He says, we're moving tonight. And all I remember about that night was frantic unloading drawers, piling stuff into my uncle's pickup truck. And we moved all the way across town. We just left the wreckage behind us. And we moved across town, and the next morning I wake up in this new house, this terrible new house, and nothing worked. The John didn't work, and they had rented it like 5 minutes. They got an ad in the paper, called them up, we're moving in 10 minutes, get it ready. He says, how many rooms? I don't care how many rooms. They got a door you can lock, that's all I want. And we moved into this new house, and we never went back. Now, I'm telling you, that's how we left the neighborhood. I never went back to Cleveland Street. Ever again. Lightning had struck. Well, about a year ago, I'm going to tell you a very funny little aftermath of this. About a year ago, I took a trip out to Hammond, our town, see. And I'm visiting my mother and all that stuff. And I said, hey, Ma, what does the old neighborhood look like? Cleveland Street? And she got that funny white expression. She said, well, we don't go back to Cleveland Street. We just never get around Cleveland Street anymore, I says, Ma, I'm going to drive out through Cleveland Street. And she says, well, wear your sunglasses. Tell you the true story. She says, don't pause there, just drive around. I said, okay, Ma. And I got in my car, and I drove down this street. Now, I don't know whether any of you have ever been back to the neighborhood where you were born. It's eerie. It's fantastic how little everything is. Yeah, here are these little houses. We even had little trees. And there were all kinds of little people walking around. It reminded me of one of these little towns that you see with model airplanes, model railroads, And they're all walking around. And sure enough, I came down Cleveland Street, and there's that excitement, see. I passed Watts's house, where I had many a fist fight. I drive another block, and I passed Esther Jane's house. Yeah, there's the house that used to be lived in by the chick that I was madly in love with. And I drive past, and you can see the screens, and they've been out of there long since, You can see the snowball bushes. I drive a little further, and there's Flick's house. They don't live there anymore. I drive past Schwartz's house, and now I'm very careful. I put the car in second, so if I got to go real quick, see. You know, Mr. Ramey may be hiding in the bushes yet. You know, like Captain Ahab, figuring one day the criminal returns to the scene of his crime. And he does. Here I am, you know. It's eerie. So I put it in second, and I start sliding down the opposite side. And I'm going to tell you, it's a fantastically funny feeling. There is the house that I grew up in. There it is. It's the same color. That kind of a strange dun brown. My father had a word for it. And the reason that Ramey painted it that color, he says, it lasts good. Well, here it is. It's that same color, you know. And there it is. It's very eerie. And here's the porch, the yard. And I could see a couple of the boards were out under the porch. And there's the tree that we had our bounding board attached to. You could still see the place where all the branches were off. And sure enough, I could see that crack. There was the crack running right down from the top. And they had put a little tar in it. And I see on the porch there's a kid playing. There's about a 10, 12-year-old kid. He's playing, see? I could see him. He's talking to another kid across the street. And I'm driving past my car. And for a brief instant, I had this urge to, run the window down and say, hey, kid, you know that crack? That one that nobody knows how it came there? You ain't the only one who was a kid once, kid. There he is. He's playing up there on the porch. And up on the roof, there was the vestigial remains of my antenna pole. Still up there. A couple little wires, still laying there. And here's this kid. I drove around the block. I came back again. I drove up in front of the house, and I looked for a long moment, and I see the kid looking down at me. This kid sees a car, see, pulling up, an official-looking guy in it. Sunglasses, see. And I see the kid, he gets kind of white, and he goes in the house. And then I see the curtains open up a little bit, and I see this lady with her hair up in curls. And she's peeking out through the curtain. Obviously, the kid has said to his mother, hey, Ma, the assessor's looking at the house. There was somebody official is showing up. And I look there, she looks at me. I see this kid peeking out. I see the crack in the house down there. I slowly put the car in first, and I drive away. I get down to the end of the block, and I turn left. And it's getting kind of dark. It was a summer afternoon. A few raindrops were coming down. I could see a little lightning, heat lightning, playing up there among those clouds. And I can't help it. I drive around again. And here's this smart kid. He's got that look, You know that look of the kid that's on top of it? We got 6 of them in the audience tonight. And I look up at this kid, and between us for a second, they're past something. At least on my side. One thing I wanted to say to him, kid, look out. You think you got the world by the you-know-what? Look out, kid. You can hear another roll of thunder, another roar. And I was back into the world of reality. And I drove down the main street, and there was the Igloo. Believe it or not, still there. And across the street was the Red Rooster. And I saw a couple of paper cups. So I pulled up in the parking lot, and I went into the Igloo. And here's this guy comes out. Walks out. So what do you want? Can I help you? I looked at him. And I said, is John around? He says, John. I says, yeah, is John around? Old Big John. You know old Big John, a big tough guy. He said, oh, you're talking about my dad. Long pause. And I said, Do you remember the ice cream war? He says, the ice cream war. Oh, yeah. He says, boy, do I remember the ice cream war. He says, I was 9 years old. My old man had me on vanilla. I says, well, I was 9 years old and I was waiting in line. And he says, by God. He says, a real veteran. He said, they don't come in much. He says, how about an ice cream cone on me? I said, no. I said, I will have a triple dip, 1 pineapple dip, 1 chocolate dip, and 1 strawberry dip. And I wish to pay 7 cents for it. And he says, how come 7 cents? And I says, well, we never got to the window. Well, I walked out into that heat lightning, and I could see the lightning playing over the steel mill, and I took a great big lick of that strawberry cone, and I knew deep down inside that Ahab was right, that it all comes to he who waits. And so we'll be back next week at the same time.